Yeah.
Do you think that the fan to artist kind of engagement in this new generation is a different type of relationship than before? And like the follow up to that is, do you think that the relationship that young kids are building with this new generation of artists over social media, do you think that their view of social media is the same as we, as I would say, like adults view social media, in terms of we kind of have it with an asterisk next to it?
So it's a good question. No, I don't. I definitely don't think the interaction is the same. It's become all consuming, which is essentially what I'm saying. Like I don't think the all consuming can sustain, because these artists are still humans, and I don't blame these artists for losing their shit on listeners sometimes, because yeah, they wanted the fame, but they're still humans, and humans still need peace and comfort to be able to perform what they're doing. To your second point about whether I think things are gonna change, I think that they're gonna change a lot more for the better as far as the fan experience, because they're gonna look at social media as, here's the thing, man. Social media for us was a pastime. It wasn't a livelihood. It's a livelihood now. It's so of course they look at it differently. I mean, one of the biggest revenue generators, especially in the pandemic, is OnlyFans. Every little girl thinks she's a porn star now, and to me, I think that's what's hurting the mentality. People are devaluing themselves and their own privacy and their own private time, and taking away. Eventually, they're going to lose sight of who they are. I mean, individuality is the pursuit of individuality has created so many like-minded group folks. It's not even funny.
Yeah,
so they all, and part of that is also because their access to each other, right? The reason we have such extremism going on is because in the past, extremists couldn't find each other very easily. They had to run in newsletters that were hidden from each other and everything. Now it's blatantly out in the open, and you can, and Facebook is actually saying, hey, you're extreme. Here's a guy that's even more extreme than you. Go follow him. You can be as extreme as him. That's not extreme enough. Go even extremer. And that's to me, one of the worst things that's happened in the last 10 years is the YouTube algorithms. Because if you don't turn off autoplay, if you went in to go research a Nazi or something like that, 20 videos later on autoplay, you are a fucking Nazi, because it's like they've gone deeper into and found things to gauge your interest, and like, oh, this piqued his interest, let's fit him with this real quick. And it's just terrible. Yeah. People are not thinking anymore.
Yeah, and that's the other. That's actually what the way I look at it is, I think having the content out there is one thing, but the problem is that we're not training our young people to think critically, right? And actually value and evaluate that content. I mean, there still are, and I'm happy to see there are still kids in this generation that do that. But I think that it's not their fault, one. And then the second thing is, how do we reverse course? I think it's great to have all this content out there, but you have to be able to train your society to be able to evaluate that properly and not let that influence them. And
that came from having trusted sources, and with our administration doing the best they can currently to deviate away from what a trusted source is and having no trusted sources. The problem now is everybody has their own ecospheres of what they trust, and that's where the problem comes in, is that there's no bridging gap. There's always information out there, but there's nobody that's bridging the gap and saying, let me look at the information on the other side. So, when it comes back to the entertainment business, there is none of that, though. And the entertainment business is purely bottom line. And what drives the bottom line is outrage, extremism, shit like that. So again, I'm going to come to a point I know personally where I'm going to have to assess what I feel about my life and my ethics. And one of the reasons actually why I joined Roc Nation is because they're not a typical label about bottom line, bottom dollar. It's been very refreshing to be somewhere where it's about the artistry and excellence, and not just how can we make the most amount of money the fastest off of this commodity. And the first time I was ever in a A&R meeting of sorts with Jay-Z, and he made it very clear that that's not what our goal is, and turned down a hit record because it wasn't the sound of the group that they were playing it. I mean, that speaks volumes when you come from a different mentality where it's always about how can we make the most. I worked a song called Crank That Soulja Boy that was terrible. I worked Chief Keef, that was terrible. I've been a part of quite a few careers that you could say have led to some bad decisions by people. If you say music actually is a influencer in life, then I've been part of. But on the flip side, I've worked Common, I've worked Kendrick, I've worked some guys that have done positive. So you get to a point, I'm 40 now, where you start thinking, do I want to continue to add positive to the world or negative to the world? And I'm thankful to be where, and not only are we active in music, Roc is very philanthropically active too. So it's very exciting, man. At least I'm at the right place in my time.